Yeah, so people, we were discussing how we should not directly start with a complete transformation and we should first try and optimize what we already have. Once we have built some confidence, we can go ahead and transform our entire business strategy or business model. Again, people, clarity reduces overwhelm. The structure reduces fear. And once you place initiatives in the right bucket, the path forward becomes much clearer. So now that we have the vision, the next question is how do we execute it? This is where many AI initiatives fail, not because the technology is weak, but because it is disconnected from business goals. So the first rule of strategic integration is very clear. Do not let AI be built in isolation. It cannot live inside the IT department alone. I cannot stress this enough. Let me repeat it one more time. AI initiatives cannot live inside the IT department alone. They must solve real business problems. We can break execution into three phases. Phase one is the diagnostic phase. Think of this as health check for your organization. Before investing money, you identify high value use cases. Where can AI realistically create impact? At the same time, you assess data readiness. Is your data accurate? Is it organized? Is it accessible? There is no point building intelligent systems on messy foundation. This phase again is about clarity and prioritization. Phase two, which we see right here, let me actually use pen. That is capability building. Once you know where the opportunity lies, you prepare your tools and your team. This is where leaders must make an important decision: buy, build, or buy. Do you purchase existing solutions? Do you develop something internally? Or do you collaborate with an external expert? There is no single correct answer. The right choice depends on your budget, timeline, internal skills, talent pool, and long term strategy. The key is to be deliberate and clear. The last phase is scaling. And this is where many companies struggle. It is relatively easy to run a pilot project within one department. It is much harder to expand that success across the entire organization. Scaling requires alignment, training, and governance. It requires consistent standards so that different teams are not building disconnected systems. Governance just simply means clear rules, clear ownership, and clear accountability. So when you look at these three phases together, the message is simple. Adoption is not a single disease. It is a structured journey. And like any journey, it works best when taken step by step. Now, one of the most common questions leaders or executives ask is how long does this actually take? The honest answer is that meaningful AI integration is not a 2 week project. It is also not a 5 year mastery either. For most organizations, a structured 12-month roadmap, which we see outlined here, is realistic. Again, this is not a sprint, it is a disciplined journey. So, the first phase is the strategy, usually covering months one and two. During this time, you focus on planning. You define clear objectives and measurable KPI. What exactly are we trying to improve? Are we trying to reduce cost? Are we trying to improve speed? Are we trying to improve revenue or customer experience and whatnot? This is not the time to purchase expensive tools, but it is the time to align leadership, clarify priorities, and define what success will look like. Many companies skip this step and then regret it later. Next comes the foundation, typically months 3 to 5, and this is where the work is not that glamorous, but absolutely necessary. You focus on data quality, governance rules, and process alignment. If your data is inconsistent or incomplete, the AI systems will reflect those weaknesses. This phase ensures that your foundation is stable before you build on top of it. Then we move to the pilot phase. This is usually month 6 to 8. Here you launch a focused MVP, a minimum viable product. That simply means a small working version of your idea. Instead of trying to transform the entire company at once, you test one high impact use case. The goal is to prove value in a controlled environment. After that comes our next phase, which is evaluation. This is typically months 9 and 10, and this is where discipline really matters. You measure results. Did productivity improve? Did cost decrease? Did customer engagement or experience improve? Cost increased instead of decreasing, and so on. If the results are strong, you refine and prepare for expansion or scale. If not, this is the moment to step back and adjust. It is better to correct at this stage rather than to scale something ineffective. Don't let the sunk cost policy get better of you. If the product is not ready for scaling, step back, refine it, and only then advance to the next phase, which is the scaling phase. Here, you consider rolling out solutions across the entire organization. Scaling requires training, communication, and alignment. It is not just technical expansion, it is organizational change. What good is product which is not adopted by its user, right? You have built a wonderful solution, but now your people are not ready to use it altogether. So that would turn the project from a complete success to a disaster. And you don't want that as an organization. So the quote at the bottom of the slide captures the mindset. The goal is not to move recklessly fast. The goal is to balance the speed of AI with sound human judgment. Technology helps us accelerate, leadership ensures we move in the right direction. Now, before any AI systems can deliver results, it depends on one thing: data. If there is one idea to remember from this slide, remember that AI systems reflect the quality of the data they receive. Good data leads to reliable insights. Poor data leads to unreliable outcomes. It is easy to assume that data quality is only an IT team responsibility. In reality, it affects everyone in the organization. The way information is collected, stored, updated, and shared directly impacts how well AI perform. And there are three key areas to focus on. First one is quality over quantity. Many organizations collect large volumes of data and assume more is always better. That is not true. If the data is inaccurate, outdated, or biased, the system will generate weak results. Clean and structured data is far more valuable than large amounts of disorganized information. Second is accessibility. In many companies, information sits in separate systems. Sales data in one platform, marketing data is in another, customer service data is somewhere else, operations data is in another data silo. When systems are disconnected, AI cannot see the complete picture. AI can only see what's presented to it. When data is integrated, insights become more meaningful and more accurate. Third is, of course, AI tools, as we all know, require stable and reliable systems to operate effectively. This does not mean every organization needs the most advanced, the latest and greatest, or state of the art technology. Simply means the foundation must be strong enough to support the workload. If the environment is unstable, performance will suffer. So, before investing heavily in advanced AI solutions, please ensure that your data foundation is solid and robust. When data is accurate, connected, and supported properly, AI becomes a powerful advantage instead of a risky experiment. Moving to the next slide. Okay, the governance table. Now we have discussed strategy and data. Now we need to talk about control. AI is powerful, but without clear guardrails, it can create risk. Governance is simply the system that ensures AI is used safely, responsibly, and consistently. There are four core areas to focus, which we can see in this slide. The first is data privacy. This is about protecting sensitive information, both customer data and internal company data. Trust is built on protection. If people believe their information is not secure, adoption will collapse. The strong governance, the policies, the strong security practices, and full compliance with relevant local or global privacy laws. Even one major data breach can damage reputation and credibility. The second one is model accuracy. AI systems are not perfect. Sometimes they generate incorrect or misleading information, and this is especially true with language models. That is why testing is so critical and important. Before relying on AI for decisions, organization must measure performance. Accuracy levels must be monitored consistently, and systems should be validated before large scale deployment. The third area is bias control. AI systems learn from historical data. If the data reflect past inequalities or unfair treatment, the system can repeat those patterns. Regular audits help ensure the system treats customers, employees, and stakeholders fairly. Fairness is again not automatic, it must be monitored and managed. The fourth area, the last one we want to talk about is transparency. So, when AI systems influence decisions, people need to understand how those decisions were made. In business discussions, the system said so or the AI said so is not a sufficient explanation. Teams or people must be able to trace outcomes back to logic and data. Clear documentation and explainability or transparency creates accountability. So, see that strong governance does not slow innovation. In fact, it does the opposite. When guardrails are clear, teams feel confident moving forward. The structure again builds trust and that also enables speed, adoption, and scale. That brings me to my next slide, which is about leading with integrity. So we have discussed governance and structure. Now we need to talk about ethics. Many people see ethics as a restriction or a checklist. In reality, ethics is what builds long-term trust. And in an AI environment, trust becomes one of the most valuable assets an organization can have. If customers do not trust the system, they will not use it. If employees do not trust the tools, they will resist them. And adoption, of course, depends on the confidence. So there are these three simple principles which we need to focus on. First is to keep humans at the center. AI should support people, not replace their judgment. It should help teams make better decisions, not remove accountability. When people see AI as a tool that improves their performance, they are more willing to embrace it. Second, take responsibility for outcomes. AI systems can sometimes produce results that are difficult to explain, but sometimes the responsibility does not disappear just because a system was involved. Organizations must own the results of the systems they deploy. Clear ownership will build credibility. Third, think about the broader. AI can change roles, workflows, and expectations. Ignoring that fear and addressing it openly creates stability. Preparing teams for change is part of AI responsibility. So you can say that ethics is not only about avoiding problems, it is about building a reputation that lasts over a long time. A fast moving technology environment, trust becomes your competitive advantage. Now, let's talk about the legal environment. At first glance, it may seem complex, but in practical terms, there are three main areas to pay attention to. The first is, of course, the EU, and this is one of the first major laws focused specifically on AI. It classifies AI systems based on risk levels with stricter requirements for higher risk applications. Even if your organization does not operate directly in Europe, this regulation is influencing global standards. Many other regions are shaping their policies in a similar direction. So you need to ensure that your tool is compliant with this EU AI Act. The second is the NST or NIST framework from the US. This is not a law, but a structured guide for managing AI risk. It focuses on reliability, safety, security, and transparency. Many organizations use it as a reference when building internal AI policies. The third area is industry specific regulation. If you work in finance, healthcare, insurance, or other regulated sectors, you already operate under compliance requirements. As AI becomes part of decision making, those existing rules now apply to your algorithms or your tools as well. Automated decisions must meet the same standards as human decisions. So the main takeaway from this slide is to not wait for a regulatory issue to arise before taking compliance seriously. Being proactive reduces risk, protects your reputation, and builds confidence with customers and partners. Clear compliance is not only about avoiding penalties, it is about maintaining trust and it is about being responsible. So, how do we mitigate AI bias? This topic is quite critical because it directly affects reputation. AI systems learn from the historical data, and historical data is not always neutral or fair. If the data contains past bias, the system can repeat those patterns, sometimes at a much larger scale. That is why bias management cannot be ignored. It must be addressed intentionally. Again, there are three practical ways to reduce this risk. First is to involve diverse teams in development and review. When the same type of people design and audit a system, they may overlook the same issues. Different perspectives help identify blind spots, diversify in data labeling, testing, and review improves fairness. Second is to implement continuous monitoring. AI systems are not static. Over time, performance can shift as new data flows in. Regular audits help ensure the system continues to behave fairly. And this is especially important for systems that influence hiring, lending, healthcare decisions, or any other high impact area. Monitoring should be ongoing and continuous, not occasional. Third is to create feedback channels. Users should have a way to report outcomes that seem incorrect or unfair. Real world feedback help improve performance and detect issues. If you have used any generative AI, you must have seen that there is always an option to report whether the response was correct or incorrect, how it can be improved. There is always an option to share your feedback. People who are interacting with the system are the ones who often notice problems before engineers or dashboards. That is why having a feedback loop in place is so important. Finally, let us look at the checklist on this slide. Ask yourself, has the training data been reviewed carefully? Can your AI model decisions be explained clearly? And most importantly, if something goes wrong, can the system be paused immediately? Every organization should have the ability to intervene quickly if unexpected behavior appears. If the system starts showing erratic behavior, can you shut it down immediately or instantly? If the answer is no, you are not ready to. Each and every system should have what we call a kill switch in place so that if anything goes wrong, you can kill the system instantly. Please know that fairness is not automatic. It requires attention, monitoring, and accountability. When handled properly, it protects both people and reputation. So we have discussed technology, governance, and compliance. Now we come to the most important factor, people. In many organizations, the biggest barrier to AI success is not the software, it is culture. If team feels uncertain or threatened by AI, adoption slows down. Tools alone do not create impact, people and culture do. So there are few key areas we need to focus on. First is upskill. AI knowledge should not stay limited to technical teams. Basic AI literacy should be available across the organization. Employees do not need to be an engineer to access it. Right? They should to some extent understand how AI works, what it can do, and where its limits are. When people understand tools, fear reduces and confidence grows. Most of us use Teams, Zooms, Copilot, ChatGPT, and other tools. Each of them are easy to adopt simply because people understand them. If these tools were complex, their adoption would plummet simply because people would get frustrated and then they would stop using the tool altogether. So that is why it is important to provide your users some kind of training about AI awareness, about tool and the do's and don'ts of AI. Second one is psychological safety. Change creates uncertainty. Right? Some employees may worry about their job role changing or skills becoming outdated. Avoiding this conversation increases anxiety. Addressing it openly builds trust. Clear communication about reskilling opportunities and role evolution helps teams feel supported rather than threatened. Third is agility. AI adoption involves experimentation. Not every pilot or launch will succeed immediately. Organizations need an environment where testing new ideas is encouraged and learning from mistakes is accepted. Progress improves when teams are allowed to adapt and refine quickly. So, people, when users feel informed, supported, and empowered, they are far more likely to use AI effectively. Culture, which we will talk about in a moment, also determines whether technology becomes an advantage or an unused investment. So, we talked about culture. Let's talk about it a little more. Building the team, which we talked about in the previous slide, is step one. Step two is building the culture that keeps them going. You can have the best technology in the world, but it will fail if your culture fights against it. To lead this change effectively, you need to focus on transparency, continuous learning, and incentivizing innovation. Let's talk about transparency first. The slide reminds us that trust is built through clarity, something which we have talked about quite a few times already. This is your antidote to fear. You need to be completely honest about which roles will evolve and how the company will support the transition. If your staff knows exactly what is coming, they will feel safe enough to come along for the ride. Then we have continuous learning. As we all know, AI moves very fast. You cannot just do one training session and be done with it. The slide suggests some practical ideas like establishing learning Fridays or internal AI academies. This gives your team dedicated time to keep the workforce ahead of the curve. Third, and the last point is about incentivizing innovation. You have to make it worth their while. You need to reward teams that find innovative ways to use AI, whether they use tools that have solved some kind of problem, business problem, be precise, or client problems, or simply reduce internal friction, celebrate it publicly. When you lead with these core values, AI becomes something your team runs towards, not away from. So now let's move from theory to practice. What does all of this, which we just talked about, actually look like in the real world? We have two case studies in the slide. The first one is of a global logistics company. They implemented a predictive maintenance system powered by AI. Instead of waiting for machines to fail, the system analyzed performance data and identified partners that indicated early signs of breakdown. Maintenance teams could act before failures occurred. And the result was significant. Downtime was reduced by a whopping 35%, and will savings reached approximately $120 million. Imagine that. Now, here in this case study, the real lesson is not technical. The breakthrough did not come from writing better code. It came from coordination. Different departments had to share data that had previously been isolated. Operations, maintenance, and analytics teams had to align. The real leadership challenge was organizational, not technical. The second example we have is of this retail tech giant. They use generative AI to assist with marketing content creation, writing campaign copies, product descriptions, and promotional messages. All of these were generated or supported by AI tools. And the outcome was not only faster production, but you could see that the content output increased by a whopping 200%. Imagine the increase in productivity. Imagine the increase in boost in confidence, right? When you are operating at nearly double the rate, you would feel a lot more confident about it. Now, at the same time, click through rates improved by 15%. That means customer responded positively to this strategy. The AI did not just increase speed, it also improved effectiveness. So these case studies or examples highlight a very important point. AI success is not about having the most advanced system. It is about applying the technology or the tool to a meaningful business problem. The idea is to identify a problem and then find an AI tool which will help you solve that. When AI is aligned with clear objectives, measurable results follow. And the key takeaway, of course, for us from this slide is that success isn't about having the best code, right? It is about having the best and most strategic value. So before we close, I want to briefly mention the AI Plus Executive Certification. This program is designed for professionals who want structured knowledge in AI strategy and implementation. It focuses on understanding core AI concepts, our business applications, governance considerations, and project management in an organizational context. The curriculum covers areas such as AI fundamentals, strategic integration, ethical considerations, managing AI initiatives, and department level applications. It is structured to support individuals who are responsible for decision making, transformation initiatives, or cross functional coordination. People, if you're looking for a more detailed and guided learning path beyond this session, this certification provides that structure. So feel free to check it out. Now, finally, let's briefly look at how the curriculum for this AI plus executive course is structured. It is divided into two practical parts. The first part focuses on foundations. The initial modules cover AI concepts, business implications, strategy, and ethical considerations. The goal is to build clarity. Participants gain a structured understanding of how AI fits into business decision making and organizational planning. The second part focuses on AI applications. This includes managing AI initiatives, preparing teams for adoption, and understanding how AI can be applied across departments such as HR, finance, and sales. The final module includes an interactive workshop, which is my favorite, where real world scenarios are discussed and analyzed. The overall objective of this program is to move awareness to structured capability. It is designed to support professionals who want a clear framework for approaching AI in their roles. With that, we have reached the end of today's session. That is pretty much it what I had from my today's session. Thank you so much for your time and attention. We covered AI strategy, risk management, governance, building culture, and real world applications. I will now open this session for questions. Please feel free to share your thoughts or queries in the chat, and we will address them one by one. Thank you so much once again. I will go ahead and stop sharing now.
Yeah. Thank you, Farhan, for a wonderful webinar. So, participants, if you have any questions, you can raise here. You can give it in the chat box, or else you can unmute and we can. Anybody have any questions? Okay. And so we'll wait for a couple of minutes. Yeah. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes if participants might be typing. Thanks for. Yeah, we have one question. Yeah, Ramba. I hope you can able to see the chat box.
I can, yes. I am going through the chat as we speak. Who says, very good insights. Should we read to get more details about AI plus course? You want to take this one, Sugandhi?
Yeah, okay. As mentioned, AI courses has been designed for each role, different courses from the executive level to advanced level. So each module has been designed based on the rules and the domains which they are working. So as we mentioned earlier, that industries wise we are working on when it is come to the courses.
Thank you, Sugandhi.
So Parag,
We have
what is
another
the
question from
AI?
Arun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Arun Kumar has
Yeah,
raised.
thanks, Pan, for the wonderful session. What are AI hallucinations and how do they impact the reliability of AI generated outputs? That's a great question, Arun. So AI hallucination occurs when the system generates incorrect or inconsistent responses, which are factually incorrect. It is usually due to inconsistent data, or if the system is trained on biased data, it may hallucinate and generate incorrect responses. The impact is that this completely erodes your trust in the system. If the system is generating incorrect responses or hallucinating all the times, you would be not willing to use the tool altogether. Why? Because you know that the system may deliver incorrect or inconsistent results. So this again erodes confidence and user trust in the tool. That is why it is extremely important to train your model on correct and unbiased data.
Yeah. Meanwhile, others can give you a valuable feedback. Yeah. So one more question has been raised that the course duration will be 8 hours. Yeah. We have technical courses. That courses will be 40 hours. Non-technical courses 8 hours. As we come to the end of today's webinar, I would like to sincerely thank each one of you taking your time to join us, and your presence and participation is truly made the session meaningful, and we hope this discussion has provided you with insights about clarity that you can apply your respective roles. So as I mentioned earlier, the each roles has been designed in such a way for their designation and their industry, and we request all the participants to give your valuable feedbacks. So this is very important for us. So I request you to share your thoughts and insights and suggestions so that we perform and we can deliver the upcoming webinar better. Once again, thank you, Farhan, for taking this webinar, and it was really wonderful and insightful. And we look forward to connect with you for the upcoming session. Even participants will come back to you shortly with the upcoming webinars. And kindly give your valuable feedbacks. And if any other questions, you can raise.
Thanks, Sugandhi. People, we have put a link in the chat which you can use to share your feedback. This will help us improve and serve you better. So feel free to use that link to share your feedback.
Yeah, and if you wanted to know more about it, you can reach us directly through your learning department. So how you got an email, right? So with them, we can connect with your team. And thank you all once again for taking this opportunity and taking your valuable time to attend this webinar. And in the feedback, we have given one suggestion column also. There also you can raise your questions if you have anything. We'll get with the answers. We'll come back to you with the answers. Okay. Yeah, that's it, I guess. Yeah. Thank you all once again. Thank you, Farhan. And thank you all ASA team and Pioneer team.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
joining us today.